Shalom. We are starting Perek Gimel. Hanar Shmuel Misharet Es Hashem Lifnei Eli. The young child Shmuel is serving Hashem as a Levi under the tutelage of Eli. And now we're given a little observation. Udevar Hashem Haya Yakar Bayamim Hahem Ein Chazain Nifratz. This was a time in which there was prophecy, but we are told that in the days of Shmuel growing up, the word of Hashem was very rare, meaning prophecy was not common. It was very exceptional. We're going to see that in the merit of Shmuel, prophecy was restored to Am Yisrael on a very broad scale. But at this point, prophecy was rare. We've already had some prophecies, but they were not common. Vahi biyomahu, and it was on a certain day, V'Eli shochev bimkomo, Eli was sleeping, or he was lying down, V'yenav heichelu kehos, and his vision was being very, very faint. He was losing his eyesight. Lo yuchal lirot, and he was not able to see. And it's towards the evening. V'ner Elokim terem yichbeh, and the neiros of the menorah have not gone out because they're burning throughout the night. Ushmuel shochev, and Shmuel is lying down. Beheichal Hashem asher sham aron Elokim. In the Heichal, that means in the Mishkan, which will also contain in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Aron. The Gemara says that you cannot read this pasuk kipshutai, because certainly no one is allowed to lie down or go to sleep in the Heichal. So the way Chazal read it is, Shmuel Shochev is like a parenthesis. It means the candles of Hashem, the menorah, has not yet gone out in the Heichal, where the Aron is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and Shmuel is Shochev wherever he's sleeping. He's not sleeping in the Heichal itself. And this is going to be Shmuel's initiation as a Navi who receives messages from Hashem. Vayikra Hashem el Shmuel vayomer hineni. Hashem calls to Shmuel. And Shmuel says, here I am, I'm ready, but he doesn't think it's Hashem. He thinks Eli is calling him. Vayaretz al Eli. And he runs to Eli. Vayomer, hineni, I'm here, ki karasali, you called me. Vayomer. And Eli says, he doesn't think it's prophecy, he doesn't know what it is. Lo karasi, I didn't call you. Shuv shechav, go and lie down. Vayelech vayishkav. So Shmuel goes back to sleep. Vayesef Hashem kra'oid Shmuel, and Hashem calls a second time Shmuel, and Shmuel again thinks Eli is calling him. V'yakam Shmuel v'yelech al Eli, v'yomer hineni ki karasali, I'm here. V'yomer lo karasi b'ni, my son, shuv shechav, go and lie down. U'Shmuel terem yadas Hashem. Shmuel had not yet spoken to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so he was not familiar with what that experience was. V'terem yigola elav dvar Hashem, and the words of Hashem have not yet appeared to him. And now there's a third time. Vayesef Hashem karo Shmuel bashlishit. Hashem called Shmuel the third time. Vayokom vayelech el Eli, and he goes to Eli. Vayomer hineni ki karasali, I'm here because you called me. The third time Eli understood that it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayiven Eli ki Hashem korei lenar. Eli now understands. Eli himself was a Navi. Eli was a Navi. But he understands that this is a prophecy from Hashem to Shmuel. Vayomer Eli l'Shmuel. So Eli says to Shmuel, Lech shechav, go and lie down again. V'hoya im yikra elecha. If there is another call to you, v'yamarta, you should respond. Daber Hashem, Hashem, speak. Ki shomeya avdecha, I, your Eved, am ready to hear. Vayelech Shmuel vayishkav b'mkaimai. And Shmuel went and he lay down. Vayavai Hashem v'yisatzei vayikra kapam b'pam. And again he called Shmuel, Shmuel. Double. Vayomer Shmuel, and Shmuel said exactly what Eli told him to say. Daber ki shomeya avdecha. Speak, for your servant is listening, your Eved. And now this is the very first prophecy that Shmuel is receiving. Vayomer Hashem el Shmuel. Hine anochi oiseh davar b'Yisrael. I am going to do something against the Jewish people. Asher kol shomo. Anyone that even hears about it, even if they don't see it. Tatzilena shtei osnav, will be so terrifying, so fearful, that his ears are going to ring. There'll be like a ringing in the ears with this fear. Again, this is actually referring to an event we're going to read about in the next chapter, which is the Aron HaKodesh will be taken by the Pelishtim. And Vayomahu, and on the day that the Aron HaKodesh will be taken, Okim el Eli es kol asher dibarti el beiso hachel v'chala. I will begin to fulfill against Eli all of the curses from beginning to end that were pronounced. In other words, this will be the deaths of Chafni and Pinchas. It will also be the deaths of Eli himself. V'higadati lo, and I will be telling him in effect, Ki shofet ani es beiso ad olam, I will be judging his family forever. B'yavain asher yada ki mekalel mehem banav lo kiya bahem. An amazing thing. Because of the sin that he knew that his sons were effectively cursing Hashem, and he did not give them musar. Lochein nishbati lebeis Eli. Hashem is telling Shmuel, therefore I have made a shavua concerning the house of Eli, an oath, Im yiskaper avain beis Eli bezevach uvemincha ad olam, that the sin of the house of Eli cannot be atoned by any korban. That was the drush of the Gemara says, there's no kapara with zevach and mincha, but there can be a kapara through Torah and chesed. Rava that had Torah got until 40, Abaya that had Torah and chesed lived till 60. So essentially he's telling Shmuel about this curse, but he's being a little bit more specific because he's telling him that the Aron HaKodesh is going to be captured. Vayishkav Shmuel ad Baiker, and Shmuel then went back to bed. I don't know if he slept, it's unlikely. Vayiftach el estalsei space Hashem, and then they opened the Mishkan for business. Ushmuel yorei mihagid es hamareh el Eli. Shmuel did not want to tell Eli the vision that he had. He didn't want to upset Eli. Vayikra Eli as Shmuel. Eli called Shmuel in the morning. Vayomer Shmuel b'ni, Shmuel my son. Vayomer hineni. And Shmuel says, I am here, I'm at your service. Vayomer, ma hadavar asher diber elecha. What was said to you? Tell me the message of Hashem. Al na techached mimeni, do not withhold it from me. Ko yaseh lecha elokim ko Yosef. May Hashem punish you im techached mimeni davar mikol hadavar asher diber elecha, if you withhold anything from me. And vayaged lo Shmuel es kol hadvarim. Shmuel gave Eli the entire message. V'lo ki ched mimenu. A very, very upsetting message, obviously. Vayaymar, and Eli had nothing to say. He just said, Hashem hu hatov b'einav yasa. What can I do? Hashem will do whatever is good in his eyes. Now, this didn't happen right away. In other words, we're going to see that something will happen, that people's ears will ring. But in the meantime, Shmuel continues to grow in ruchnius and be matzliach. Vayigdal Shmuel. Shmuel is growing up. Vashem haya imo. And Hashem is with him. V'lo hipil mikol devarav artza. Everything he wanted to do in Avodas Hashem, in Zikoi Harabim, nothing fell down. Everything was successful. Vayeda kol Yisrael midan ad Beersheva, and all of the Jewish people from Dan in the north, the far northeast, to Beersheva in the Negev in the south, they knew ki neman Shmuel the Navi Hashem, that Shmuel was a faithful Navi of Hashem. Vayosef Hashem lehera'o b'Shilo, ki nigla Hashem el Shmuel b'Shilo b'dvar Hashem. And the pasuk says that nevuah that had been very rare began to come back in Shiloh in a much more common way in the merit of Shmuel. In the next parak, we are going to read about the war that Am Yisrael had against the Pelishtim and the great, great tragedy of the capture of the Aron and the deaths of Chafni and Pinchas and the deaths of Eli, which were the beginning of the fulfillment of the curses and the punishment, as was foretold to the Navi Shmuel in his first nevuah. Kol tov.